Else. Okay, here we go. Thank y'all for joining me today. If you don't know me, my name is Russell Graves. I'm coming to you live from Hackberry Farm, Dodge City, Texas. Uh, w Welcome to summer 2026. I mean, it happens quick here. We had a lot of rain this month, and then all of a sudden it shut off about a week ago, and it's been just hot and kind of muggy and humid every day. But that's a Northeast Texas summer. We're used to that, but it's beautiful outside. It's a beautiful day, and I'm excited to bring you this today. Uh, as we get into the topic, using AI to improve your nature photography. I think that's AI has been a big topic of discussion for everybody for a while now, especially here in Texas, especially rural Texas, because it seems like all these big data centers are going in rural places. I know where I used to live in Childress, Texas. They're putting in two big data centers out there, and that's kind of a constant source of controversy. Where's the water coming from? They're they've got a lot of traffic in a small town they're not used to all of a sudden, and then they've got housing issues because you've got this enormous force of people that go to construct these things, and there's just no place to put them, and they're dealing with that. The infrastructure all over small towns in Texas is being really restrained because of them. But the thing is, they're here. Well, what it ends up being, how are we always going to have these big data centers? I don't know. The interesting thing is, I talk in general about this is there's already coming online. I saw some the other day. They're like a boot box size device that you can use at enterprise value that'll give you the same computing power in an office setting as it will be those big data centers. So I'm just curious, those data centers are a new and shiny thing, but how long would they be used for? Because as the technology improves and the computing power improves, I kind of think what a lot of I've heard a lot of other people say, or say not a lot of other people, some other people say that all of a sudden, instead of AI being done on the cloud somewhere, it's all going to be done locally on your computer at home because it's already starting to come out where these computers can handle complex tasks, do all kinds of calculations, as well as your phone and everything else is going to be integrated into. That'll be separated from the cloud. You can just use it locally without being connected to any kind of internet. And they think that's the way the future of AI. So who knows? The thing is, who knows how the data centers are going to be? I certainly can't predict the future, but one thing we do know is I think artificial intelligence and AI is here to stay, and how we incorporate it into our workflows is some of the things I'm going to be talking about today. If you came in with me late, using AI to improve your nature photography, that's today's topic. As always, if you have any questions, put them in the chat. I'll circle back to that in the end of the webinar and answer any questions that you might have. My name's Russell Graves. I'm coming to you live from Hackberry Farm, Dodge City, Texas. And with that, let's go ahead and get started. Oh, by the way, as I go through this, just know there's going to be a few things that are cumbersome because I'm going to have to switch from this screen to my browser because some of these examples or all these examples, I'm going to show you a live version of what it comes up with on using Chat GPT, maybe Google Gemini. I use Chat GPT the most. That's probably the one I'll lean on today just because it's got for me, I've used it enough to know it's got predictable results and what it's going to tell me. But again, I'm going to show you some ways that you can incorporate it into your photography that I think you'll find surprising and enlightening. And so to give you some upfront info about this, uh, I just use AI for informational and educational purposes only. I use it a lot as a search engine just to find out information. It's built into our phones now. You get an AI summary of what all the places are saying. Just the day before yesterday, to give you a good example, it's been about a year since I have smoked a brisket, and I kind of forgot. Not forget, I kind of know in general, but so I make sure I don't miss any steps. I asked AI, how do you smoke a brisket? And it took all these different sites and condensed them into a summary for me and gave me how to smoke a brisket. And by the way, we ate it last night for supper. It's really good. And we've got about a week's worth of meat in the refrigerator to my left right now that we're going to be eating all week this week. So I'm really looking forward to that. But anyway, I use it for informational purposes, also educational purposes to help me learn things like the internet is made for, what I think the internet is so beautiful about. What I never do is I never use it to create images. I think for me, that would be a little bit, I never use it to create images I'm going to pass off as photographs. Occasionally I will use it for illustrations, but I never use it to create images that I'm going to pass off as a photograph. I know if you follow any of the photography blogs, there's been a couple of controversies this year about winning images in photography contests that have been AI and either AI created or AI enhanced. Now, I would never do that. I'm just not cut that way to be able to be dishonest about the process. I still want to be honest about the process. Frankly, I think that's why people like you guys who are listening today come to me to learn stuff because I try to be authentic in my approach and try to be honest with everybody and transparent about how I learn and what I do. So I think there's a lot of value to the process of going out and creating something. I think there's a lot of value to going, I was in Costa Rica last week. There's a lot of value to traveling to that spot and experiencing that spot, whether you come away with a really great image or not, just to be there and to try. I think it's got a lot of value to it. And so I don't use it to create images. And another thing also, on my written content that you read every month on the newsletter that comes out or the emails that you get from me, it's all from written from my head and written from my heart. All comes naturally, and I don't use AI I don't even use AI for any kind of story suggestions. It's just all something that is created organically. And my tagline on a lot of my emails that says AI free since '93, and I believe that because I'm going to keep that up forever. I just never intend to use it to create content that I can create myself. And then artificial intelligence, it looks to be a fantastic way to learn more nuanced post-processing. I'm going to show you an example here in a little bit. I've got 5 different tips I'm going to share with you. I'm going to show you an example here in a little bit of something I did, and I'll give you these prompts. These prompts are important. The tricky thing about AI right now is it doesn't do a good job of reading nuance. And so when you put your prompts in, sometimes you got to tweak them a little bit and kind of massage them somewhat to get the information you want out of the end. And then the second problem is all the information you need to verify it. I'm going to show you some examples of how I think AI looks to be a fantastic way to help sharpen your post-processing techniques. Uh, and it also looks to be a fantastic way to help you learn other nature-related topics as well. I mean, just from a straight Google search engine to, I'm not going to jump too far into it. I'm going to show you some examples of some other ways you can learn with AI. And so in this webinar, I'm going to provide you with a few prompts to help get you started. So my advice to you would be, as I go through there and talk about these prompts, either wait on the notes you'll get because you signed up for the webinar and look at them later, or go back and watch the webinar or write them down as I say them. I'm going to tell you what these prompts are. I'm going to have to remember them too because it's cumbersome for me to copy and paste from this setup I've got. And so I'm going to show you some prompts again. I've got 5 different prompts I'm going to share with you today, just in the interest of time. And then so first thing I'm going to do is I go through these prompts is I'm going to switch. I'll show you a demonstration of it, live demonstration. So I'll switch over to my browser and show you kind of how I go through the steps, and then be able to switch back to the presentation and go on to the next one. So I'm going to provide you some prompts to help get you started, and and hopefully you'll kind of see what I'm talking about on some of these things you're going to be learning today. As always, I always like to put pretty pictures and talk about that. This picture here is from a recent Summer of the Smokies workshop we did. It's a beautiful time to go to the Smokies anytime, but especially summertime. People like to go in the fall a lot to see the colors, and it's beautiful when you go there as well. But to go in the summertime, it's just got a whole different vibe about it. And this is how lush and green it is. I'm telling you, again, I said I was in Costa Rica. The Smokies is a temperate rainforest. I was in a tropical rainforest last week, but the mountains and everything else, they look so similar. Different vegetation, different vibe, different accents, of course, but still beautiful, beautiful scenery. Okay, tip number 1, use AI to come up with organizational schemes. Last week, when I was talking with everybody at the workshop we were on in Costa Rica, one of the topics that comes up a lot, and I've talked about it a lot in the past on my webinars, is one of the key skills you got to learn and the key disciplines you got to do. And I say discipline, and that's it. And I've been a little lax here lately for full transparency. But one of the key disciplines about digital nature photography is no that you got have, one thing you got to understand is nobody buys a camera with the intention of taking fewer photos. No one goes on a trip, whether it's with an organized group like I do, or whether it's you go by yourself. No one goes on a trip with the intention of taking fewer photos because we've got these cool devices in our hands and these awesome lenses. We all go with the intention of taking more and more pictures. And because of that, the pictures start to stack up in the background. And so a lot of people I've done a couple of webinars kind of giving some people some introduction about this is how I organize my pictures. Just give them a framework in which to organize uh, an organizational scheme. And so what AI does is you can put the prompt in AI and it'll give you some ideas on how to do just that, how to get you started on organizing your pictures and keeping them organized. So most importantly, you can find them tomorrow, but 5 or 10 years from now, when you're looking for a particular picture, you can find them then. And so here's my prompt I'm going to use. Provide some strategies on how I can build an organizational scheme for my digital photography collection. So I'm going to show you a demonstration right quick. I'm going to share a different screen, Google Chrome. I've already got Google Gemini and and Chat GPT loaded. And I'm going to ask it, it may not be exact, but you get the drift. Provide an organizational plan for how to, oh, I'm going to back up again. Provide a plan for how I can organize my digital image collection on my computer. And then let's see what it says. It's going to think about it for a second. And there you go. It's going to give you step-by-step instructions on some ideas on uh, how you can organize it. Number one, gather everything in one place. And it's talking about just trying to get all the pictures you have in all different hard drives and give them to one spot. And I'm paraphrasing here. But number two, you choose one master library. For me, it's Lightroom. I use a Lightroom library. I got more than 1 million pictures in it, but it's all organized. And then what they suggest is organized by date first. I don't organize mine that way because I never have, and I'm not going to go back and change now, but that's what they suggest there. And then start with naming your folders consistently, and then renaming photos, removing duplicates, and you can read. I provided you that prompt, and so you can read there. And then from there, it teaches you to create an intake workflow, and it gives you step-by-step instructions on how you can build an organizational scheme and then how you can implement it after that. Now, the beautiful thing is when you're done, you can even go back and refine that prompt. You can ask Chat GPT, for example, uh, how can I organize my pictures that doesn't include dates? And it's going to take that first query you did and it's going to take that first query you did and it's going to expand upon that. And then it gives you some more ideas on how you can organize things just to keep track of all of your photos. It's a if you're fairly new to digital photography or you're trying to get started on organizing your pictures, that prompt right there is a fantastic way to uh, help jumpstart your brain and help start getting you organized. Now, what it won't do, or if AI won't do, and I don't think I have to remind you on this, but what it won't do is do it for you. So it takes you to go in, and this is where I've been lax. I used to be really good about when I'd get done with the shoot, I'd go through immediately, do the keep and cull, organize everything, get it all put where it's going to be. But I'm a few months behind now just because I've been busy with a bunch of other stuff, and so but still, it requires you to do it in the end. But if you've got a framework to do it, and you've got an instruction manual, it makes it easier to do time and time and time again. So that's tip number one. Tip number two, I've been using this for a while. Use AI to come up with keywords for images because not every one of my pictures get keyworded, but just my keepers in the end do because I've got a whole other website called russellgraves.com. And russellgraves.com, it's a business to business site. The magazines I still do work for, the creative clients I still do work for, that's where they go to license images from me. And so I still will take my keepers and I'll put them on that site. But one of the things that AI does, instead of me sitting there trying to come up with keywords on an image and trying to think through all the different possibilities, AI can think through it for you pretty quick. And so, uh, here's here's an example prompt. Make me a set of keywords based on this image that I can copy and paste into Adobe Lightroom Classic, because that's the one I use. If you use Photo Mechanic, or if you use Ant or On One, I think it's called, or any of the other photo post-processing solutions, you can just change Adobe Lightroom Classic to that. And notice I put Adobe Lightroom Classic. I didn't put Adobe Lightroom because there's Creative Cloud and there's Classic. I specified which one I wanted to use. And so what's cool about using what's cool about using this as I switch back over is I'm gonna switch over this time to Google Gemini, and I'm gonna see. I don't use Gemini a lot, but I'm gonna see what Gemini says. So, or no, I know what Gemini is gonna do. I'm not gonna do. I did try this today. I'm gonna just stick with Chat GPT. I'll tell you again what Gemini does. So, you can at the bottom of the screen here, before I put my prompt in, you can click the plus button, and I'm gonna add a photo here. And then so let me go to my desktop and webinar. And this is the picture. This is the bison picture that was on that main screen for this one. And so you can just ask it, make me a set of keywords from about this image that I can, and I'm a terrible typer, by the way, copy and paste into Adobe Lightroom Classic. And I'm gonna hit enter. It's gonna think about it for a second, and it figures out what the image is. It knows it's an American bison, and then it's gonna give me some more chances or some more opportunities that I can do to add even more keywords like where it was located or anything else in there. But the main thing is this bison, American bison, buffalo, right there. It's got a copy symbol that you can see, and all I can do is copy that, jump over to Adobe Lightroom, paste it on one image, and then I can apply that same keywords to however many images I want to that are based on that same series or pictures of bison I took 2 or 3 years ago or whatever. And so instead of me in just a few seconds, instead of me sitting there trying to think through all of these different keywords, Chat GPT started coming up with them just instantly. And now all I've got to do is copy and paste those back into Lightroom. So again, I think that's going to be a big time saver. There's some systems coming online now that integrate. I've been using it for a while called My Keyworder for Lightroom, that's integrated into Lightroom, that does a really good job, but still you've got to go through there and type. With My Keyworder for Lightroom, still I could still copy all the keywords, apply it to the image, and then My Keyword for Lightroom will even make that keyword list more nuanced. And again, that technique may not be for everybody. If you don't necessarily keyword your images, it might not apply to you. But if you ever start building up a big library of images, and it's important to you to find stuff in a short manner, then keywording is a great way to go. I'll get off I'll get off topic just a little bit, but with my organizational scheme, I use not only color labels, and it's all done through Adobe Lightroom, I not only use color labels, but keywords, uh, and metadata and dates and everything else to help me essentially with the million image library. And they're in various folders, but with the million image library, I'm looking for a needle in a haystack, but using metadata, color labels, metadata, including the camera I used or the lens I used, the date the picture was taken, using all that metadata that's baked into every image, along with color labels and my just my organizational scheme. I'm taking the gigantic haystack and I'm making it into smaller, much more manageable haystacks that I can usually find pictures. Usually about a minute. It doesn't take me very long to find something that I took maybe 25 years ago. And so that's where the power of keywords comes into play. Oh, I forgot to change an image there. I did not take a picture of that graduate there. It was a placeholder shot that I forgot to put in there. Okay, tip number three, provide critiques to your images. And this is something I tried for the first time yesterday as I thought about this prompt. By the way, thank you, Christy. My wife just brought me a coffee from town. Uh, Please provide a critique of this image based on standard photography conventions. And so all I'm asking Chat GPT to do is, and let me switch back. I'm going to take this picture here, this longhorn, shot it on the Redlands Ranch and Western Wildlife Experience. I know what I like about it. I know what I don't like about it. I'm curious to see what Chat GPT says about it. And again, if you look at the prompt, please provide a critique of this image based on standard photography conventions. And what I mean by standard photography conventions are what we all accept as being good composition, what we all accept as being good lighting and good angles and all that, and just all the things that you might get judged upon if you're in a camera club and you're doing photography competitions. I'm just asking for a critique. And so this is the picture I chose. And to show a demonstration, okay, I'm going to add photos. Uh-oh, I got to go hunting for this one. Give me just a second. Oh, here we go. Redlands Ranch, that's where it'll be. Let me find it real quick. I forgot to put it. There it is right there. So I'm going to upload that picture. And I'm going to say, please provide a critique of, oops, misspelled critique, of this image based on standard photography. What's the word I used? Uh, I'll just put considerations or
Conventions.
conventions is what I use. Yep. Thank you. Okay, please provide a critique of this image based on standard photography conventions. I'm going to ask Chat GPT about it. Again, that image I created with my own camera and post process it. And it's going to give you an overall impression here. And this is what I found to be pretty amazing when I did this. It's going to tell me the composition. It thought it was a 9 out of 10. I shouldn't put any thought into what a machine tells me, but I thought it was the best composition when I took it. And so it just reinforces what I say. Talks about why that's a good composition. And then it also talks about here's some things you might want to consider next time you take it. The area comes close to the right edges. I knew that going in, that animal was close and I was as wide as I could get the camera. And I was against the fence, so I couldn't back up anymore without getting the fence in it. Uh, and then it says the foreground occupies roughly a bottom quarter of the frame. We'll go back and look at this picture in a minute. And then it says the lighting is 8.5 out of 10. The lighting is when it was it's because the angle of the animal, it says there it's partly shaded. Again, some of the critiques it's given me, while valid, it's not like I could go out and move the animal. So you got to take some of this with a grain of salt. But as a way to just look at your pictures from a third party standpoint and be able to analyze them critically, uh, I think it's a good way to learn. I really do. And then focus and sharpness talks about that. Color 9 out of 10, perspective 10 out of 10, background 8.5 out of 10. And this is my big critique of the picture, but there's nothing I could do about it. It talks about the second cow in the background, or there's a bull in the background standing behind the cow that's a little distracting. If I had it, if I had my way and I could direct those animals, I would have told it, I'd have moved that bull out of the way to just have the cow standing there. And we'll go back and look at the picture in a minute. And then it gives you some editing suggestions on what you can do using in Lightroom. And then again, it gives you a rundown what makes it image successful. Uh, it'll tell you there. And so again, I think from just a critiquing standpoint and a learning about your images standpoint, it's going to be pretty valuable. So here's the, oh, let me go backwards. Here's the picture again. Now this is cropped a little bit from the original just because it's got to fit inside the frame that I'm showing you right now. So the toes are cropped a little bit and the horn is cropped a little bit. The original picture uh had a little bit more space around it. It wasn't a lot more space, but a little bit more space. But again, when I looked at this picture, when I took the picture, my big critique uh, is that bull in the background. There's nothing you can do about it, but it just accept that it's there. But I will take one thing that I didn't think about when I post-process image that to heart that AI just suggested. If I'd have put a radial gradient right over the eye, I could have brightened the eye up a little bit and gave a little more pop to it. Maybe even brought it, filled in a little bit more of the shadow. So it's not, you can still see detail, but you can see, you could bring some of that out in it and, it would maybe make the image pop a little more. I'm happy with the picture as it is. I'm not going to go back and change it based on what AI told me. But if you're trying to learn and you're trying to, just get I think as Eleanor Roosevelt said, it's one of my favorite quotes of all time. I use not only all the brains I have, but all that I can borrow. If you've ever been on a workshop with me before, you know I'm genuinely curious about other people's experiences and what other people have done for a living and what made them successful in their various fields. And because I'm always looking for that little nugget that helps me out in my day-to-day decision making. And I think AI is just one of those other brains you can use. But you got to remember, what's eerie about the systems is they're sounding more and more human-like, but they're not people. And so you got to take some of what it says with a grain of salt and always check for accuracy too. So with that said, we will go to tip number 4. Uh, you can also use AI to give some insight on your images. And then what are the chances of this image winning a nature photography contest? That's a prompt I thought of this morning when I was putting this whole thing together, because this is important for a lot of people who are in camera clubs, and I've judged quite a few of them where you've got these monthly photo contests, and it's good to ask the same question we asked before, but in a little different way. What are the chances of image winning a nature photography contest? And so the picture I picked was this one. And this is one of my favorite quail pictures I've ever taken. And I'll go ahead and tell you what the big critique of it is. It's to me, it's a beautiful picture. It's beautifully lit. The background is perfect. It's eye level. This was taken at Redlands Ranch out of the blind. The bird was coming to the water hole to drink, and so I'm at eye level with the bird. Everything, the lighting, everything really checks the boxes for me on this. And so I use this as my example image. The critique is, and why this may place high in a photo contest, for example, but it would never win any of the big photo contests, is because it's just a simple portrait of a quail. The quail is not doing anything in particular. It's standing there with a good head turn, like a supermodel. The leg position's right. There's a lot of things that go into this picture, but for this to compete at a higher level, and I've never entered a photo contest, so I'm talking about something I really don't know anything about. But uh, if I was ever going to enter this into a contest, it would never place beyond a certain level just because it doesn't have that extreme action or some kind of dynamic action or any kind of action that I think it would take it. If I was judging this picture, I would judge it's a great picture, but if you got a quail, say, flying into the frame, I'm going to pick the one flying because it's harder to get, and it's just a more dynamic image than what this one is. So, with that said, I ran this. I was actually sitting at the coffee shop this morning waiting for some coffee when uh, I thought of this prompt, and then so let me change screens again. Go back to Chat GPT. I know I said I was going to use Google Chrome. The reason why I'm not using Google Gemini is because I noticed it this morning that if you if you ask it a critical picture about it, if you ask it a critical information about, how good would this picture do if I entered it into a nature photography contest, it's going to remake the picture for you and say if we can make it like this, it's going to do better. And the Chat GPT just doesn't do that. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to add the photo again. Go back to my handy dandy folder I saved for y'all on the desktop webinar. There's the picture there. I'm gonna upload it, and I'm probably gonna ask it. I'm gonna ask it in a little different way. I still type with two fingers, by the way. I never took typing in school, so I learned how to. And I'm to the chagrin. I'll tell you the story real quick. To the chagrin, when I used to be a teacher at Children's High School, the typing teacher would see me type, and she'd get all over me about just good nature way about not having, I don't type properly, and I'm not a good example to the other kids who are watching me type. But I would also remind her that I bet I've had more words published than anybody else in that school combined. And so that gives me a pass to be able to type poorly like I do. How well would this image compete if I entered it into a nature photography contest? And let's see what Chat GPT tells us. Oh, I'm gonna stay logged out. See, it tells me it's just doing a constant thread of each prompt I give. It says it's a very strong image and stronger than the Longhorn. Uh, and it says it gives me a rundown of what it thinks. It'd probably do pretty good in a local camera club, a regional nature competition, strong contender, or it might win honorable mention. But the bigger the contest gets, uh, you can see top international competition. It has a solid foundation, but it would need to stand out against extraordinary work where originality, behavior, rarity, and storytelling often become the deciding factors. So if you think about the big contests like the BBC contest, Nature Photographer of the Year, I think is what they call it, contest. Uh, it would not place well in that, even though it's got great lighting and all that, just because it doesn't contain the things it just told me about and the things that I mentioned to you before. Overall score 9.3 out of 10. It kind of goes down and breaks down the impact, composition, and then the lighting. See, I mentioned this before. Lighting, they gave it a 10 out of 10. It's exceptional. Background's a 10 out of 10. Oftentimes, I sound like a broken record if you hear me talk about enough, whether you hear me in person or, and I'd guess ask this question. That guest may be in the crowd today. They asked me we're in Costa Rica. What's the first thing you think about whenever you think about taking a picture of an animal? And the first thing I think about, or among the first, is what's the background going to look like? And I think about that all the time. That's so important to me. And I'm going to tell you why the background is important to me in just a minute. And the reason why I just think a beautiful soft background really helps an animal stand out against that background. And so I think about it all the time. And many times we're not talking about this in the webinar, but just to give you a bonus tip. Many times to change the background, you don't have to move but a couple of feet to the left, a couple of feet to the right, or sit down, and it changes your whole perspective on the animal, and then in turn changes what the background is going to look like. And again, I'm going to show you why that background's so important in a minute. To me, it may not be important to people in this audience at large, but to me, why it's so important. And then it gives me a rundown of the technical quality, and then it just talks about the subject and then the storytelling aspect, and then again where I might can improve it uh from a post-processing standpoint. So it's giving me, I mean, and it's doing it for free. All of this information about one picture, again, if I'm smart and I want to learn and improve my craft, I'm not going to do this for every picture I take. I'm not going to get myself consumed on wondering what AI thinks, but if there's some one-off pictures from here and there and I'm kind of stuck, is this a good picture or not? it might be a good place to go and just get some more thoughts about it. And again, any chance you can have about thinking about photography different that's going to translate to your performance in the field, it's always going to be better in the end. And then it says there what the judges will likely appreciate. Same thing I appreciated. Quality of light, the subject isolation, it's in focus and the exposure is right, all the technical stuff. Uh, and then the natural processing I did because I try not to over process my pictures. And then ultimately just all the good things it talks about the image, and then in the end it gives you a bonus if that were my image, which I guess Chat GPT says if it were mine I would do this to it. And so uh again, that's another tip, I think, another prompt for you that if you do photo competitions, and I thought about this for a while, I don't guess photo competitions uh I don't think they care yet about if you just not, again, I'm not suggesting adding or taking away or doing something to the image that wasn't a part of the original image, but just as feedback. I don't think there's any contest that will preclude that at this point because number one, I don't think, how would they know? And number two, it still takes you to go out and execute. It's still going to take you to go take the picture and then to take those suggestions and then do something with those suggestions. And so it still takes the machines out of the whole thing, but still, uh, it's again a good way to learn. And when I took this picture, I had people sitting in the blind with me, and again, part of a big part of what I still do because I love it. I still do a lot of magazine photography. In fact, when I got this webinar today, I've got a magazine article I've got to write, and I'll be doing the pictures for that magazine article this week. So I still think in terms of magazines. That's my my professional career. That's what I kind of came up doing was magazine photography. So I still love doing it. And so I still pursue that. But the minute I took this picture, I just knew it was such a special pose. The light was so good. The background was so good. I told the people in the blind, it's like I felt like I was Babe Ruth calling my shot. And I said, you will see this on the cover of a magazine one day. And sure enough, because for me, that's always been I've had hundreds of magazine covers in my career. I still get a kick every time I see my picture on the cover of a magazine. That's my photo competition. The commercialization of photography is my photo competition because they don't have to pick me. And so the fact they do, and I've had so many covers. This is the end result. What this picture ended up being there was on the cover of a magazine called Covey Rise. And just it was in the spring issue. So they do that magazine 4 times a year. And it's still a print magazine, and so that was in the spring issue, and it looked lovely, and I was proud to brag to the people who were in the blind with me when they didn't deny it, but I said that's such a special picture of a quail, it'll be on the cover of a magazine, so there it is. I saved this one. I think this is the best tip for the last, and you can use AI to help kickstart your post processing skill set. When I did this on Saturday, I was thinking through these prompts and I added this prompt and I saw what it told me. I was blown away. There were some things it told me to do that I'd never considered before. Now, again, will I do this prompt for every image I take and every image I get ready to post process? No, I won't. But if there's some tricky pictures, I'm not sure what to do. Absolutely, I'm going to start building this into my workflow to help me figure out, what are some things you can do? Because that's a common question you get. People are like, you got Lightroom, and there's a million different ways to do the same thing. You've got a picture. Where do you start? And it's different. It's hard to give a universal answer because it's different for every picture that you do. But I think if you're listening today, you understand that's part of the challenge in it is where do you start? I mean, what do you do first? What are the step by step? Well, AI solves that problem for you. And so here's my prompt. Using Adobe Lightroom Classic, what are some specific steps I can take to process this image and make it look better? And then this is the picture. This is from the Great Smoky Mountains. This is as it came right out of the camera. Now, I'm looking at this on the screen right now, and I can tell you when I look at it on my computer, there's a little more dynamic range. The trees aren't so blacked out underneath. I guess that's just the translation of when you're showing it like this. Uh, but it was kind of a grayscale image. It was a gray day out there. We had a little bit of color in the sky as we had a gap in the clouds for a second, for a minute, but that was how the sun came up that morning. And so, how do you make something out of nothing? And so I'm going to go back to Chat GPT. I'm not logged into my Chat GPT, so I'm going to see if it's going to let me do one more. And I'm going to give it the prompt, or let me upload the picture first. Oh, got to log on. So let's try Gemini right quick. So I'm going to upload files, and then that's the picture right there. And then using Adobe Lightroom Classic, what are some specific post processing steps I can take to make this a stronger image? And let's see what Google Gemini tells us. And again, these prompts should work on all the platforms. I just use Chat GPT the most because I've used it enough now. I know what it's going to do. So I don't know what's going to happen here. Uh, and let's see what it does. The same thing it does on Chat GPT. Look at that. It gives you a step-by-step instruction and how much to change on each of it in order to do what you asked it to do. And so now, instead of bumbling through trying to, trial and error on making a picture better, you're telling it, teach me how to make a brisket, and it's giving you the recipe. And all you got to do now is follow step by step. So you can see there, global exposure and contrast. That's the first thing you're going to change. It tells you how much the range to do the exposure. And I'm going to show you the results in a minute. I went through and did this on that picture you just saw the other day. I followed exactly what ChatGPT told me to do, and I'll share the results with you in a minute. And it's telling you there, enhancing the layers tool, using the mask, which I would do that anyway. I knew to do that. But one of the things that it surprised me is, you know, until the other day, like on the color grading and temperature, I bet I haven't used vibrance. I could probably count on one hand how many times I've used vibrance in my life. I'd never used it before, but this is where I see this being valuable for me is teaching me how to use those tools, those sliders in Lightroom that I've never even considered using before. And then, of course, it's telling me to crop a little bit and all that. Now, Chat GPT's their instructions were a little more than what Google Gemini is, but it still gave me it's still roughly the same thing. It's telling me to do the same thing. So that was my proof. Cross-platform, whether ChatGPT or Google Gemini, it's all giving me kind of the same advice on what to do. And I think that just that alone, if you don't pick up anything else from this presentation today, oh, let me go backwards. That prompt right there is going to save you a bunch of time and probably teach you a ton about how to use your post processing. Again, don't you if you don't use Adobe Lightroom Classic, pop in what you use right there, Apple Photos or what Paint Shop Pro from back in 97 or whatever else you use. Pop that in there and it's going to give you step-by-step instructions on how you fix that image to make it look more presentable. Now, I'm going to show you this to say that even though it's a good way of learning and it's going to give you a recipe on how to accomplish what you want to accomplish, before I'll show you the after picture, this is the before. Before I'll show you the after picture, I will tell you that the instructions it gave me uh, is not kind of the look and feel I would normally go for on a picture like this. It's not bad, but it wouldn't be, I would not present this as my own work because it's not something that it's a little over processed in my opinion. But with that said, in full transparency, this is the before picture, and then this is the after picture of what Chat GPT recommended I do to post process this image. Now, overall, if I'm critiquing this, overall, I think the instructions for the mid valley and the clouds were the best. To me, the trees, and this is again, this is exactly the recipe it gave me. I didn't change anything else. The trees to me look a little over processed because it's trying to bring out the more detail in the trees, and I just to me that's where it starts looking a little bit fake. But I can always go back and change it. I can go back to the way I started, or I can even on those sliders, don't give it as much gas on the sliders as what it suggested. I could ease back on a little bit. I can always go back and change it. The bottom line is it gave me a good starting point to start to edit this image, and I wasn't lost in the process. I was jumping into the process and engaging with my pictures and doing what we all hope to do is make your pictures look a little bit better in the end. And so that to me, I think that's valuable. I'm going to just go back real quick, real fast. I'm not going to show you the demonstrations, but I'll just go through just to recap the tips with you a little bit since we got a little bit of time. What we covered today, I should have put them in the end, but I'll go through them this way. Uh, I use AI to come up with organizational schemes, or you can. That's a good starting place if you're having trouble trying to figure out what to do uh, with your images and how to organize them. And then there's the example prompt. Provide some strategies on how I can build an organizational scheme for my digital photography collection. It's concise. It's a concise statement, but it's really specific on what you want it to do. If it's not specific, a lot of times again, or if you want to expound on it, the systems will ask you a question. Do you want this option in the end once you've seen what the answer I've given you? Use AI to come up with keywords for images. I'll be using this a lot more now just because it does it so quick and it gives you such a deeper level of keywords. In the past, because I'd sit there and think, I might come up with 4 or 5 keywords on this one image, but the AI systems now can come up with so many more, which helps me because in the end, who knows how I'm going to search for my images in the future, but more importantly, when this picture goes to russellgraves.com, I have some clue how people search because I don't know who searches for my images, but I do get search logs, so I know how they search for them, and I can come and I can react to keyword my images based on how people search for them. But I can provide any keyword that's gonna be satisfy a lot of users in the beginning because my keyword sets now, instead of being 5 or 10 words long, they're maybe 15, 20, 30 words long in the end. But I didn't have to do much time thinking about it, and it came to me instantly. I'm just copying and pasting in there. This right here, I'm going to start using a lot more, that prompt. Nope, there's the prompt. Make me a set of keywords based on this image that I can copy and paste into Adobe Lightroom Classic. And then it shows you the demonstration. And then I can kind of critique my own images and know what I did right and wrong, but I could see if I was, if I was on the fence about a couple of images, which I think better is get the critique for it. But if I was a beginning photographer, I would absolutely use this for critiques and just to kind of get some guidelines on what I can do to make pictures better. Uh, Same way on the contest insights. I think it's a valuable tool of just saying, what are my chances? And I know it can't tell you exactly what your chances are. There's no way of knowing. If it is, it's a lot smarter than what I thought it was. But you just no way of knowing what the competition is. The reason why you can't tell. You'll always win a contest with one picture in it, but once you start adding more pictures, you just never know. But I think the important thing of this prompt is it's going to tell you just some general ideas of how judges would kind of look at the picture and just give you some overall guidance on what it thinks the pictures are. But again, I think this last tip number 5 I gave you, I think that's the one. The recipe on how to post process images if you're stuck with something. Uh, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm the best at post processing. I'd never say that. I'd never say I'm the best photographer in the world. I'd never say that either. I think the reason why we're all so passionate about it is because we want to be better at it. I've mentioned this a million times before. Photography is so much like golf in the sense the best golfers in the world go out and play the game, but they know they're never going to play it perfectly, and that's what makes it so intriguing. That's why I'm willing to go back to the same places over and over and over again. My time here in the Badlands, the next time I go there, it's going to look completely different. The scene's going to look different. The color is going to be different. Everything about it's going to be different. And that's why I think it's worth going back to the same places over and over and over again. It just helps you build your skill set. But, and the most of the time, I didn't mention this either. Most of the time when I have problems trying to figure out how to post process an image, it all has to do with mainly landscape pictures, because landscape pictures can get complicated because how do you post process them where they don't look cartoonish or like paintings or look over processed, in my opinion, to and give it a natural look. And so I think that's where this prompt really comes in handy. Using Adobe Lightroom Classic, what are some specific steps I can take to process this image and make it look better? This image meaning the image you upload into the system. And again, you saw my take. Uh, that's the original shot. That's the post-processed. I think with a few more tweaks, it can be better, but I wanted to show you exactly what the recipe showed me to do. And that's it right there. And that, when I say that's just the beginning, that's just the beginning of the prompts. As the systems get more and more intelligent and we think of more and more questions, there's all kinds of different ways that you can count on that these AI systems will be able to not replace your photography. And let me make that really, really clear, not replace your photography and not be a crutch for your photography, but give you insight on your photography and help you learn more and more about it. And so with that said, uh, I think AI can over time prove to be a valuable tool to complement your photography skills. Wherever you're at in your photography learning journey, AI can be a tool just like digital photography was a tool 30 years ago when it first started coming when it first started hitting the scene. Uh, it wasn't necessarily the end of photography. It I'll tell you this story. When I was a magazine photographer, and all of a sudden digital photography started coming out, and it made the learning curve so much quicker on learning techniques, and it made the whole genre accessible. People used to ask me, and you hear people say it all the time. You've been paying attention. You've heard people say it. Oh, it's really going to kill professional photographers' business. And in my experience, maybe some it have, the people have failed to adapt, but in my experience, it really hadn't because it's uh it's done a couple of things. Number one, from a commercial standpoint, the pie has grown. Now, because of social media and digital media everywhere, companies that used to only hire you to do, and I don't do much commercial work anymore, but when I used to, companies that used to only hire you once every 2 or 3 years to do a catalog for them were now hiring you every 3 or 4 months just because they had to have a current library of content for their social media collection. So it created the whole digitization of the genre, created more work. Just like doing what I do now, doing the educational part and leading workshops, it's created more opportunities for me than there ever was before. So I'm not afraid of the technology. Again, I don't advocate using it to create something that's not there. And when it comes to your photography, I said it at the first, I'll say it again. There's a whole lot of value to going out and doing it and learning on your own and not be a slave to the technology and learning what works and learning what doesn't. I think it's always best if you get it right in the camera instead of relying on your post-processing software like Lightroom or the Topaz suites or Chat GPT or Google Gemini or any of the AI or Claude or any of the AI platforms. I think it's always best to get it right in the camera, but you just use these platforms as a way to complement, like I say, your photography skills. And so with that said, uh, let me check back to the meeting chat, see if there's any questions in here. Let me see. Christine says, depending on what the question is there benefit to using Chat GPT or similar over Google questions, which return multiple AI replies? Uh, I haven't used all of them, Christine, but again, the one I'm most comfortable using because I can understand how it thinks and I can, I guess I'm influencing the results in a way because I know how to frame the question. But Chat GPT is the one I'm most comfortable using. And is Chat GPT is free. You get so many, you can do so many queries a month with it, but there are various plat, uh, paid tiers that you can buy into to be able to get more and more and more, and even get, professional level that results that happen quicker. But I think for what we're talking about today, most people can just get by. Or I think most of the free versions of all these platforms are good enough. Uh, well, there you go. Shelly just said it. I'm sorry, Shelly. I didn't mean to steal your thunder. She just answered the question right after that on the chat. There is a free version, but if you use it a lot, it's $20 a month, and you get better results from it. And that's exactly right. But I think again, in the beginning, until you get to that point, the free version works out fine. Uh, and then Christine asks again, is it possible to use Chat GPT or similar to actually crawl your own hard drive? I don't I don't know if you can do that or not. Maybe you can, but I'm not sure about that. So do that. It's your own peril. Uh, on the bull, she said, what about adding blurring to the background with masking? Yeah, I just didn't. That happens with questionable results. You can add a blur, but the blur doesn't match the blur in the far background. So that's the way I took the picture. So that's the way I left it. Uh, Can the thumbnail in Lightroom be copied to and pasted into Chat GPT, Tom, or do I have to export a JPEG? I'm not sure. I mean, I just exported JPEGs just to show you how I did it, but I'd be interested in if you tried that. I'd be interested in try that and see if that works or not. I'm not sure. My first thought when I started doing this is export a JPEG and import it into Chat GPT and see if that works, and it did. Uh, Skip says, one of the best Russell Zoom classes you've done. Uh, Love the prompts. Thanks, Skip, on that. And then LJ says the same thing. Everybody else says a great presentation. Well, yeah,
Everybody else has a great presentation. Well, yeah,
I heard somebody's microphone come on. Uh, and then Lynn says a lot of times she uses a screenshot for Chat GPT. Yeah, that'd be a good idea as well. Uh, anyway, it's 12:58. We've been at this almost an hour now, so I appreciate everybody joining in, and I'd love to hear, these are my prompts. I'd love to hear uh, anything you come up with. So as always, feel free to stay in touch. Uh, oh, it says check your messages, please. Okay, I will, Shelly. Feel free to stay in touch, and if you have any questions about anything or want to share your results, russell@russellgraves.com, my email address. If you ever want to come around with us and have a lot of fun like we do, come along with us and have a lot of fun like we do, hackberryfarm.com. The 27 schedule's up. I've still got a few more trips I'm adding to the 27 schedule. The bulk of them are there though, but I still got a few surprises that are coming up. And with that said, I will let you guys go and I will talk to you soon. Thanks a lot. Y'all take care. Oh, have a great 4th of July holiday, by the way. Happy 250th to America, too. Talk to y'all soon.